Chapter 1: Liquid Alchemy. Mixology is the art and science of crafting cocktails and other mixed drinks, often involving the creation of new recipes and techniques. It's more than just pouring drinks, it's a deep understanding of ingredients, flavor pairings, and the history of cocktails. Mixologists are skilled in using a variety of tools, techniques, and garnishes to elevate the drinking experience. My voice carried across the auditorium, confident and steady, as I shared my passion with a room of wide-eyed recruits. For the past 10 years, I've been running programs like this, teaching the craft to the eager and the curious. I wasn't born into this life. I found it in a dingy bar in Northwest Alabama, one hand gripping a bottle, the other clinging to a dream. My name is Arden Sterling. I bartended my way through days of study and nights of exhaustion, saving every tip and euro to attend every class I could. Eventually, I perfected the art. Private events came first, then high-profile clients, the kind who expected perfection and discretion. And when my name started moving through the right circles, I built my own company. Liquid Alchemy became an empire. Investors came knocking, but I chose carefully. Kara was different, a gentle soul in her late 60s who once told me no one had ever perfected her frozen espresso martini until I did. We shared one, right there in her kitchen, and I remember her fondly even now. She understood that mixology was an art, not just fancy bartending. The audience clapped as I stepped off the small stage and wove between counters, offering advice, correction, and praise. Tonight marked the end of training. Tomorrow, one of these 10 would earn a place in one of my resorts. My final open spot. By 1829, I called last round. Applause filled the air, and I slipped out the back to the black SUV waiting for me. The drive through Manhattan was a blur. At the hotel, the doorman smiled, the receptionist handed over my key and messages, and I finally stepped into the quiet of my suite. Zara, my assistant, ran through updates over the phone while I kicked off my boots and poured myself a bourbon. The Manhattan skyline glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows, beautiful, but not home. 6 months on the road had worn me thin. I wanted my resort, my bar, my peace. Tomorrow would be the final competition. I'd crown the winner, and this tour would end. The next night, the venue pulsed with energy. 4 rounds, 2 contestants cut each time. The first eliminations brought tears and polite applause. By the final round, only 2 remained, both flawless in skill and style. For the last challenge, I chose a Vieux Carré, a balance of rye whiskey, sweet vermouth, cognac, Benedictine, and bitters. Both drinks were perfect. 20 minutes of heated deliberation, and we chose a winner. A young woman with bright eyes and steady hands. I pressed a golden key into her palm. This is the key to the resort's bar. You'll start within a week. All expenses paid. Welcome to Liquid Alchemy, Shane. Thunderous applause. Flashing cameras. And for the first time in months, I felt the end of the road just ahead. Chapter 2: The Promise. The next morning, my phone was a storm of headlines. New mixologist crowned for Liquid Alchemy. Empire expands. Is this the end of the road? Kara would have been proud. In her will, she left me everything, with one request: build a resort in her hometown. A small Greek island, sun-soaked and decadent, a playground for the rich. 5 years ago, I bought beachfront land there. I wasn't ready then. Maybe I still wasn't. But the promise burned in my chest every day. By noon, I was flying home. Shane would arrive at the Tropea Resort in a week, freeing me to think about Kara's dream. For now, I wanted my bed, my view, my sea air. Tropea welcomed me back with warm breezes and familiar scents. Staff applauded as I entered the lobby, and Zara was already at my side with reports. After lunch and a shower, I walked the beach, letting the golden light soothe me. That's when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Arden Sterling. The voice was cool, unfamiliar. Miss Sterling, my name is Wildfire. I've heard of your skills, and I'd like to challenge you. A slow smile curved my lips. No one had ever dared before. You've piqued my interest, Lariel. The name lingered on my tongue like a fine liqueur, dark, layered, and impossible to forget. Lyrial Wildfire. It didn't just sound like a name. It sounded like a prophecy. No one had dared challenge me in over a decade. My dominance in mixology wasn't arrogance, it was fact. I had built an empire on precision, on taste, on a kind of alchemy that made other bartenders seem like children playing with juice boxes. And yet, with a single phone call, she'd shifted my pulse, just enough for me to notice. The sea was restless that night. I walked the line where sand met water, each step sinking slightly into the cool grit. My phone was still warm in my hand, as if her voice had burned into it. She hadn't told me when, where, or even what the challenge would be. That was deliberate. A calculated omission. By the time I returned to the resort, the air in the lobby felt different. Staff sensed it, the same way animals sense a storm before it breaks. Zara raised an eyebrow, but I only gave her a small, unreadable smile and continued upstairs. My private bar was my sanctuary, dim lighting, bottles lined like sentinels on polished shelves, the faint scent of oak and citrus oils clinging to the air. I locked the door behind me and began to work. Not to practice, I didn't need practice, but to think like an adversary. What would she open with? Would she seduce the judges with spectacle, a cascade of liquid fire and glass spun like gold thread? Or would she go for the quiet kill, a simple pour so flawless it would make every other drink that night taste like water? I made drink after drink, letting the ice crack and sigh in the shaker, imagining her hands moving faster, her smile sharper. The thought both irritated and thrilled me. The next morning, Zara found me still in the bar, hair tousled, shirt sleeves rolled, the smell of spirits heavy in the air. "Who's Lyrial?" she asked casually, too casually. "A name," I replied, fastening my cufflinks. "That might just matter." She tilted her head, but didn't press. Zara knew me well enough to recognize when curiosity was best left to simmer. That's when the first sign arrived, a bottle. No courier. No note. Just a crystal decanter filled with a deep crimson liquid, sealed in black wax. The label, handwritten in deliberate, looping script, read, "For the opening move." I broke the seal. The scent rose like a memory. Ripe black cherries, a curl of smoke, bitter almond, and something elusive, something floral but ancient, like jasmine that had learned secrets it shouldn't know. I inhaled again, and for the briefest moment, the air seemed heavier, the shadows in the room a little longer. This wasn't just a gift. This was a lure. That night, as the sea whispered against the shore, I dreamt. Not of cocktails or competitions, but of a pair of eyes watching me from across a dimly lit bar. Eyes the color of dusk just before the first star appears. In the dream, she smiled slowly, as if she knew exactly what I would order before I even spoke. When I woke, the taste of that crimson liquor lingered on my tongue. I didn't remember drinking it. Somewhere out there, Lyrial Wildfire was planning her first strike. And for the first time in years, I wasn't certain I would be the hunter. "You've piqued my interest," I had told her. Now I wondered if I had just opened my door to something far more dangerous than competition. Chapter 3: The First Move. I stood motionless in the dim glow of her private bar, the crystal decanter heavy and cool in my hands. The black wax broke with a sharp snap, like the crack of a whip, and the deep crimson liquid inside caught the low light, gleaming like blood caught in glass. I inhaled. The scent was a slow burn, threading through my senses with the precision of a masterful blend, ripe black cherries that sang of wild abandon, a curling smoke that whispered of fires long extinguished yet never forgotten, bitter almond, sharp and biting, and then a floral note, delicate yet ancient, jasmine with a secret smile. It wasn't just a drink. It was a message. My gaze sharpened. The bar around me, usually a sanctuary of control, now felt electric, alive with a quiet pulse. My fingers brushed the label again, the words for the opening move swirling in my mind like the first sip of a dangerously sweet poison. I set the decanter down, eyes narrowing. No note, no name, just this, an invitation. Or a warning. A slow smile curved my lips. The game was on. My thoughts drifted to Lyrial Wildfire, a name like a promise, a prophecy whispered on restless winds. The only rival who could unsettle my iron grip on the world I'd built. The only one daring enough to challenge a queen of craft. The Grandmaster of Mixology, being played at my own table. I poured a small measure into a glass, the liquid swirling, catching the faint light, burning like liquid dusk. I lifted it to my lips, tasting the challenge. Not just the flavor, but the pulse beneath it, the spark of something wild and unpredictable. The first move. And me? I was ready. Days slipped by like smoke curling through cracks in a forgotten room. My world tightened around the slow drip of anticipation, the pulse of my empire humming softly beneath the surface as another package found its way into her hands. No courier, no explanation, only the unspoken weight of a promise. The second gift was a small, handcrafted wooden box, carved with twisting flames that seemed to flicker when caught in the light. Inside, nestled on a bed of black velvet, lay a vial of liquid gold, a rare, ancient elixir said to unlock hidden senses, to heighten the soul's taste buds beyond mortal bounds. I traced the vial's delicate curves with a fingertip, a thrill sparking through her veins. This wasn't just a game of skill, it was a challenge to my very essence. Before I could savor the implications, another arrival, a folded piece of parchment, faintly scented with sandalwood and a hint of smoke, slipped beneath her door. The ink was sharp, deliberate, like a blade etched in poetry. Not all flames burn with heat. Some glow with secrets yet to meet. Taste the silence, hear the fire. The game unfolds, your move, desire. My lips twitched in a smile, both amused and wary. Lyrial was a master of the subtle strike, a shadow weaving through my fortress of certainty. Each gift was a thread, each note a pulse in a growing rhythm that I wouldn't ignore. The quiet before the storm. The third arrival came under the cover of twilight, slipped silently into my private quarters like a shadow with secrets to spill. This time, it was no delicate box or cryptic note, but a slender, obsidian black flask, cold and heavy in my palm, etched with swirling sigils that seemed to shimmer faintly, alive beneath the fading light. The seal broke with a whisper, releasing a scent that seized her breath, sharp citrus mingled with wild herbs, and beneath it, a trace of something darker, untamed, almost dangerous. It was a potion whispered about in the oldest circles of mixology, a concoction said to blur the line between perception and desire. My pulse quickened. This was no longer just a game. This was a summons. My phone buzzed moments later, a single message lighting the screen. Taste carefully, Arden. Some fires consume, others ignite. My fingers hovered over the flask, mind swirling with the thrill of risk and the pull of temptation. I took a measured sip. The liquid exploded across her tongue like a tempest, alive and wild. Colors deepened, sounds sharpened, every sense heightened to a razor's edge. The room around her shifted, shadows stretching, lights flickering. The ordinary transformed into something electric. And through it all, the promise in Lyrial's voice echoed in my mind. The game unfolds, your move, desire. I smiled, fierce and unyielding. The slow burn was now ablaze, and I was ready to dance in the flames. Chapter 4. The Wildfire's Domain. Lyrial Wildfire's world was a symphony of contrasts, dark velvet drapes that swallowed light and gilded mirrors reflecting 1,000 possibilities. The air pulsed with a heady blend of sandalwood and something wilder, a scent that teased the edge between danger and delight. She stood at the center of it all, poised like a queen on a chessboard where every piece was a secret waiting to be revealed. Her fingers traced the rim of a crystal glass filled with a liquid as deep and enigmatic as the night itself, an elixir of her own creation, layered with rare spices and a hint of the arcane. Her phone buzzed softly. A new message from Arden, terse, loaded with unspoken challenge. Your move. A slow smile curved Lyrial's lips. The dance was no longer a game of shadows. It was a firestorm, and she welcomed the heat. With deliberate grace, she reached for a small, intricately carved box, a gift in return, a symbol of her own mastery. Inside lay a set of cocktail picks forged from obsidian and gold, each etched with runes pulsing faintly with power. They were more than tools. They were tokens of the game they played, a reminder that every detail mattered. She lifted one, feeling the weight and the promise in her palm. This was a challenge written in steel and flame, and Lyriel intended to win. As the city lights flickered beyond her windows, Lyriel's eyes burned brighter, wild, fierce, and utterly unyielding. The wildfire was stoked. Lyriel stood before her grand window, city lights flickering like distant embers beneath the night sky. The cocktail picks were now hers no longer, sent forth as a silent challenge, a token of her fire crossing the line into Arden's domain. Her fingers danced lightly over the surface of a delicate envelope, black as midnight and sealed with crimson wax, her signature mark, the wildfire's kiss. Inside, a single card awaited, its edges tinged with gold, its message brief but sharp. A night to remember. The wildfire awaits. Your move, Grandmaster. No time. No place. Just a summons, a spark cast into the dark, daring Arden to step closer into the flames. Lyriel's lips curved into a slow, knowing smile. The game was no longer subtle. The dance was about to become a blazing tempest. She poured herself a glass of her own creation, a cocktail infused with smoky vanilla and a hint of something wild and untamable, and raised it in silent toast to the hunt ahead. The wildfire was no longer contained. It was unleashed. The card burned a hole in my palm long before I broke the seal, gold-edged, black as night, the wildfire's kiss searing with promise and peril. My breath hitched. The air around me thickened, the sanctuary of my private bar suddenly charged with a fierce energy, a challenge I wouldn't, ignore. My fingers tightened around the glass I'd filled moments before, swirling the amber liquid like a cyclone trapped in crystal. The scent teased me, smoky vanilla, a whisper of wildness just beneath the surface. My eyes flashed, stormlit, fierce, unyielding. The Grandmaster was not just playing a game anymore. I was unleashing every fury, every carefully honed skill, every ounce of my soul. I moved with purpose, each step echoing through the silent room, every breath a silent roar. With a deliberate hand, I selected bottles from the shadows, rare infusions, secret blends, and began crafting a drink not just to impress but to conquer. A tempest in a glass, wild as the storm brewing within her. The shaker sang under my touch, ice clinking like thunder, the aroma rising sharp and intoxicating. My phone buzzed again. A message from Lyriel. Impressive. But storms are fleeting. Wildfires endure. My smile was a flash of lightning. I raised the glass to my lips, tasting the tempest I'd unleashed. Fierce. Unforgettable. The storm was mine. And the wildfire? It was burning brighter than ever. Chapter 5. Embers in the Dark. The storm I had summoned wasn't just in the glass. It was in the silence between their messages, the space where words dared not tread but glowed like coals waiting to ignite. Hours stretched like shadows, each one thick with unspoken truths and promises veiled in teasing smiles. I traced the rim of her tempestuous creation, eyes flickering to the darkened window where the city lights blurred like distant stars. My phone vibrated softly. No words this time. Only a single, fleeting image, a flame caught mid-leap, delicate yet fierce, shadows dancing in its glow. Lyriel's signature, her wildfire, spoken without a sound. My pulse quickened. The dance wasn't about who struck first anymore. It was about who could hold the flame closest without burning. I let the glass rest on the table, fingertips brushing the cold crystal as if savoring the chill before the inevitable heat. In the quiet, our worlds twined tighter, the slow burn deepening, a symphony of desire and power, shadows and light, waiting for the crescendo. The room was draped in shadows, lit only by the soft flicker of amber candles that cast dancing silhouettes on the walls. I stood behind my polished bar, a queen in my sanctuary, eyes sharp and unyielding. The door opened quietly, and Lyriel stepped inside, poised, fierce, every inch the wildfire she was named for. Our gazes locked immediately, a silent battle waging between them, words unnecessary when the air itself crackled with the electricity of their arrival. Arden. Lyriel's voice was a low, melodic challenge, ready to see if fire truly outlasts the storm. My smile was slow, deliberate, only if you're prepared to get drenched. No more games, no more riddles. The challenge was clear: to create the ultimate cocktail, a masterpiece of taste, technique, and raw emotion. The prize? Not just victory, but respect, dominion, and perhaps something more fragile: understanding. As the music shifted, a sultry, rhythmic pulse, the two masters moved, hands weaving through bottles, glass, and ice, each motion a stanza in a poem of craft and competition. The bar became our battlefield, the drinks their weapons, the stakes higher than ever. The room pulsed with low, rhythmic beats, the kind that vibrate through bones and stir the primal fire beneath skin. We faced each other across the polished mahogany bar, eyes locked, challengers in a silent war where every movement could ignite or unravel. My hands moved first, fluid and precise, selecting rare bitters infused with smoky vanilla, a dash of aged cherry liqueur, and a hint of forbidden spice. My fingers danced across crystal glasses and polished steel, ice cubes clinking like distant thunder. Each pour was deliberate, a story unfolding in liquid poetry. Lyriel's response was a mirror and a challenge, a cascade of vibrant colors swirling in a shaker, the scent of wild herbs and citrus bursting through the air. She smiled, sharp and knowing, her touch both tender and fierce, folding flame and frost into a glass that shimmered like twilight. We worked in tandem, the air thick with tension, the subtle banter barely breaking the silence. "Your move, Storm Queen," Lyriel teased, eyes glinting. My smile was a slow burn. I thought the wildfire never waited. Glasses met with a soft, ringing chime, a duel declared. We tasted, eyes never leaving each other, savoring the sharp bite, the smooth caress, the wildfire held in a delicate balance. The room held its breath. Neither was willing to yield. The clink of crystal on wood echoed softly, but the silence between Lyriel and I was thick with everything left unsaid, the electric charge of rivalry, the whispered promise of something deeper. My eyes searched Lyriel's, tracing the fierce fire I'd come to both dread and crave. The taste of Lyriel's creation lingered on my tongue, wild, unpredictable, a perfect mirror to the woman who'd crafted it. Lyriel's breath caught just slightly as she met my gaze, tasting the storm in my glass, the crafted tempest that held years of control and unleashed fury in a single, devastating pour. Neither moved to speak. The room seemed to pulse with the rhythm of their shared breath, the slow burn of challenge and desire entwined. My fingers curled around my glass, knuckles whitening, the weight of the moment pressing deep. Lyriel's lips twitched into a small, victorious smile, a silent admission that this duel was far from over. In that charged pause, a world shifted. The flames weren't just rivals now. We were something dangerously close to allies in the fire. The bar's dim light caught the glint in my eyes as I raised my glass again, savoring the liquid artistry Lyriel had crafted, layers of wild herbs and citrus that burst like summer lightning, leaving a trail of smoky vanilla in their wake. It was flawless, daring, untamed. Lyriel mirrored the gesture, her gaze steady, unwavering, tasting my tempest, a cocktail that held the quiet fury of a storm held just at the edge of breaking. Each note hit with precise power, a masterstroke of control and passion. Neither spoke the words, but the air between us crackled louder than any thunder. No clear victor, only the electric thrill of equal power, equal fire. My heart raced, not with frustration, but with a fierce hunger, the challenge fueling a fire deeper than any flame Lyriel had ever stoked. This wasn't about winning, it was about the chase, the dance, the exquisite torment of a rival who could match my stride for stride. A slow smile spread across my lips, fierce and alive. Still no winner, I murmured, voice low and steady, but the fire's never been hotter. Lyriel's eyes flickered with a wild gleam. Then let's keep burning. Chapter 6: Between the Flames. The room outside the bar was quiet, a sharp contrast to the storm that had just passed between them. Lyriel and I found ourselves standing a breath apart, the space between us thick with something neither dared name aloud. My eyes flicked to Lyriel's lips for just a heartbeat before I looked away, heart pounding in a rhythm both fierce and unfamiliar. Lyriel's gaze didn't waver. There was a spark there, wild, hungry, dangerous, and I felt it like a physical thing pressing against her skin. Neither spoke. Words would only shatter the fragile balance we'd built with every glance and every move. Instead, we let the silence stretch, let the tension coil and twist like smoke, wrapping them in its slow, intoxicating embrace. My fingers itched to reach out, to close the space, but I held myself back, knowing that some fires burned best when tended with patience. Lyriel stepped a fraction closer, breath warm against my cheek, a silent promise hanging between us like a spark waiting to catch. The challenge wasn't over. It had simply moved. Time slowed, folding over itself as Lyriel and I stood suspended in a moment that was neither battle nor surrender. The air around us shimmered with the weight of what could be said but wasn't, the promise of fire held just beneath calm surfaces. My breath came steady, my eyes tracing the line of Lyriel's jaw, the curve of her neck, memorizing the details in the low light. Every inch of distance between us crackled with potential, a whispered invitation neither dared accept. Yet, Lyriel's gaze was a slow burn, deep and steady, a fire tempered by patience but no less fierce. She took a careful step back, giving me the space to decide the pace of this dance. Neither needed words. The silence spoke volumes. Outside, the night carried on, indifferent and endless. Inside, the flames flickered softly, quiet, steady, and full of promise. The world outside faded to a distant murmur, as if the universe itself held its breath for the moment unfolding between myself and Lyriel. Time slowed, each second heavy with the weight of unspoken desires and quiet wariness, a fragile dance balanced on the edge of a blade. My fingers curled slightly, the tension in my body both restraint and invitation. My eyes locked onto Lyriel's with a gravity that pulled and pushed, a silent challenge and a promise wrapped in shadow and flame. Lyriel's breath hitched, the slow burn in her gaze deepening, an ember waiting for the breath of wind that would set it ablaze. She stepped closer, just enough for the heat of her presence to brush against my skin, a soft electric pulse sparking in the space between us. And then, with the tenderness of a whisper and the force of a tempest, our hands brushed. A single touch, light, deliberate, electric. The air ignited. The world shifted. The first spark had landed. In that breath, everything changed. The moment our hands met, the world tilted, colors sharpened, sounds deepened, and the air around us thrummed with a fierce energy that crackled like lightning striking dry earth. My breath caught, eyes wide and blazing, as Lyriel's fingers curled around mine with a grip both possessive and gentle, a promise and a challenge rolled into one. Finally, Lyriel murmured, voice low and raw, the game's no longer just a game. My pulse hammered, the storm within me unleashed at last, fierce and free. I pulled Lyriel closer, the space between us evaporating in a rush of heat and hunger. Our bodies spoke a language older than words, raw, urgent, and beautiful in its ferocity. The slow burn had exploded into a wildfire, consuming everything in its path, fierce and unyielding. We were no longer rivals. We were flames entwined. The heat between us was a tempest no shield could hold back. My breath came fast, heart pounding as the fierce storm inside me yielded to the wildfire pressing close. I bent, not in defeat, but in surrender to a force both fierce and tender, a dance of power and vulnerability. Lyriel's hands traced the curve of my jaw, her touch a promise and a question wrapped in flame. You think you know me, she whispered, voice low and heavy with secrets. But I'm more fire than you can imagine. My eyes searched hers, fierce yet open, hungry to know and to claim. Lyriel's story spilled between us, born from embers and ash, forged in the crucible of loss and rebellion. A past wrapped in shadows, a queen dethroned but never broken. The Wildfire wasn't just a name. It was a legacy, a force that burned with passion, pain, and an unyielding will to rise. As the night deepened, so did our bond, flames entwining, fusing strength and desire into something fierce and new. Lyriel's voice was a low murmur, her fingers tracing slow, deliberate patterns along my arm as she spoke, the firelight casting flickering shadows on her face. I've followed you for years, she confessed, eyes glinting with a mixture of reverence and challenge. Every step you took, every empire you built, every storm you weathered, I saw it all. My gaze sharpened, curiosity flickering beneath the surface of my fierce exterior. I'm Kara's niece, Lyriel continued, a trace of pride threading through her words. She taught me the power of legacy and the weight of expectation. When she passed, the old resort was left in ruins, but I have a vision, a new beginning. A resort in Greece, a place where fire and storm can dance as equals. Her eyes locked with mine, fierce and unyielding. I want you there, not just as a partner, but as the queen of that empire beside me. The air between them shimmered with possibility. Two forces, once rivals, now bound by ambition and something far deeper. My storm met Lyriel's wildfire, and together we would forge a future blazing brighter than either could alone. Chapter 7. The Storm's Answer. My eyes held the storm of 1,000 battles, fierce and unyielding, yet behind that tempest, a flicker of something softer, curiosity, maybe even hope. I studied Lyriel, the wildfire who dared to reach into my world and shake its foundations. A slow smile curved my lips, sharp and knowing. You've been watching, I said, voice low, tinged with both challenge and amusement. And you want me to walk into your fire, not just as an ally, but as your equal. Lyriel's gaze didn't waver. Not just want, Arden. Need. My breath hitched, a rare crack in the armor, but I masked it with a laugh, dark, rich, and full of promise. I've built my empire alone, fought storms on my own terms. What makes you think I'm ready to share the throne? Lyriel stepped closer, the wildfire's heat undeniable. Because even storms need fire to burn brighter. The air thickened between us, charged with unspoken possibilities and the thrill of what could be. My eyes softened, the storm inside me bending. Not breaking, but bending towards something wild and new. Then show me, I murmured, voice a blend of steel and silk. Show me why this fire is worth the storm. Lyriel's smile was the spark that set the night ablaze. Lyriel's eyes gleamed with fierce conviction as she took my hand, guiding me away from the bar and into the quiet sanctuary of my private study, a space alive with maps, sketches, and whispers of dreams waiting to be born. This, Lyriel began, voice steady and sure, is more than a resort. It's a revolution, a place where art, power, and passion converge. A sanctuary for those who crave the extraordinary. Greece is just the beginning. She traced her finger over the plans spread before us, an opulent resort perched on cliffs that kissed the endless sea, blending ancient mystery with cutting-edge innovation. Gardens that bloomed under moonlight, hidden alcoves for whispered promises, and halls alive with music and light. But it's not just the place, Lyriel continued, eyes locking with mine. It's what we build together. Your mastery, my fire. A kingdom forged in the storm and the flame. My breath caught, the vision unfolding like a wildfire through my veins, a future where power wasn't just taken but crafted, shared, and ignited in every corner. Lyriel's hand tightened around mine, a silent vow. I want you beside me, Arden, not as a guest or a shadow, but as my queen. The promise hung between us, fierce and unyielding, a blaze too bright to ignore. My heart thundered, not with fear, but with the wild, fierce hope of a storm meeting its perfect fire. Time seemed to slow, folding into itself as Lyriel and I stood entwined in the quiet sanctuary of possibility. Our hands still clasped, warmth radiating through the simple touch, a tether between storm and wildfire. My eyes searched Lyriel's, tracing the fierce promise etched there, the unspoken vow to stand not beside, but with her, in a firestorm forged by two souls unwilling to yield. Lyriel's breath mingled with mine, soft and steady, a rhythm both grounding and electric. Neither needed words. The silence between us was a language all its own, intimate, potent, and heavy with the weight of everything that could be. A slow smile curved my lips, fierce and tender. "This," I whispered, voice thick with a rare vulnerability, "is more than a partnership." Lyriel's eyes darkened with desire and something deeper, a fierce, unwavering devotion. "Yes," she breathed, "it's the fire we make together." The morning sun spilled gold across the horizon, igniting the sky with promises of beginnings and endless possibility. Lyriel and I stood side by side on a cliff overlooking the cerulean sweep of the Aegean Sea, a kingdom waiting to be born beneath our feet. The wind tugged at our hair, whispered through the olive trees, and carried the scent of salt and wild thyme, the wild, untamed spirit of Greece itself. Lyriel turned, eyes shining with fierce joy. "This is only the beginning, Arden. Together, we'll build a legacy that outlasts storms and wildfires alike." My hand found hers, fingers intertwining with an ease born of battles fought and trust earned. "We'll light up the world." Our laughter mingled with the sea breeze, a sound fierce and free, a herald of the empire to come. Behind us, the ruins of the old resort stood silent, shadows giving way to light as we stepped forward, queens of our own making, rulers of fire and storm. Chapter 8: Empire of Fire and Storm. The resort blossomed like a dream etched in stone and sea, an oasis where ancient myths whispered through olive groves, where modern luxury wrapped every corner in silk and light. Lyriel and I poured our souls into every detail, the scent of blooming jasmine in the twilight gardens, the shimmer of moonlit waters in the infinity pools, the pulse of music echoing through hidden halls. But the path to greatness was no gentle tide. Rival investors eyed our vision with suspicion, wary of the Storm Wildfire alliance. Old debts from Kara's past threatened to claw back into the light. Whispers of sabotage slipped through the marble corridors. Yet my storm was relentless, and Lyriel's wildfire burned fiercer. Together, we navigated boardroom battles and backdoor schemes, our unity a fortress against the encroaching shadows. Late nights bled into early mornings, strategy sessions lit by candle and resolve. Every setback met with sharper wit, every challenge with fiercer passion. Through it all, our bond deepened, storm and wildfire entwined, unbreakable. The elegant halls of the boardroom became a battlefield, the air thick with tension as rivals circled like vultures, our smiles sharp and promises empty. My voice cut through the murmur like thunder, every word a calculated strike, every glance a challenge daring them to try. Lyriel stood beside me, the wildfire's presence a blazing shield, her calm a stark contrast to the storm's fury. But threats weren't always spoken aloud. Sabotage whispered through the resort, an expensive shipment vanished overnight, blueprints mysteriously altered, whispers of dissent among the staff. My storm flared, a tempest of investigation and confrontation, uncovering cracks and shadows with relentless precision. Lyriel's wildfire burned through the political games, forging alliances in unexpected places, turning enemies into uneasy partners. Yet the greatest battle was within, the pull between power and passion, trust and fear, the delicate dance of two fierce souls learning to bend without breaking. Amid the chaos, our love became a refuge, a blazing hearth where storms could rest and wildfires find breath. The grand hall was packed with faces, some loyal, some masked in smiles too sharp to be kind. The air was electric, heavy with anticipation as I stepped forward, every step a drumbeat echoing through the silence. Opposite me, a coalition of rivals led by a ruthless tycoon with eyes like ice and ambition to match. He smirked, the predator circling. "Your reign is a beautiful dream," he sneered, voice dripping with contempt. "But dreams don't pay debts. They don't survive storms." My gaze was steel, unflinching. Dreams are built on storms. And fire. From behind me, Lyriel emerged, a wildfire incarnate, fierce, poised, and ready. Her voice rang clear, cutting through the tension like a blade. "We're not just surviving. We're rising." The tycoon's smirk faltered as a meticulously gathered dossier hit the table, evidence of his own underhanded dealings, exposed by their relentless pursuit. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The tides turned. Together, Lyriel and I stood, storm and wildfire, unyielding, unstoppable. Their empire wasn't just a dream. It was a force of nature. The grand hall, once thick with tension and whispered threats, now hummed with a different energy, one of hard-won respect and cautious optimism. The rivals had retreated, our plans unraveled, our faces etched with grudging acknowledgement. I stood by the towering windows, the city lights twinkling like distant fires beneath the night sky. The weight of victory pressed on my shoulders, not light, but tempered steel forged in fire. Lyriel joined me silently, the wildfire's warmth a steady balm against the storm's residue. Our hands found each other, fingers intertwining like roots seeking strength in shared soil. "We did it," I murmured, voice rough with exhaustion and something softer, hope. Lyriel's smile was fierce and tender. "And this is only the beginning." There were scars beneath the surface, sleepless nights, battles fought in shadows, the cost of trust earned and tested. But in that moment, standing together, we knew our empire was more than stone and steel. It was a testament to the fire we'd forged together. A legacy blazing bright, enough to outlast any storm. Chapter 9: Rebirth and Reckoning. The sun rose slow over the sprawling resort, casting golden light on new beginnings. Walls once scarred by conflict were now fresh with promise, every stone laid with intention, every garden blooming with resilience. I moved through the grounds with quiet determination, my storm softened, tempered by the wildfire's steady warmth. I paused by a fountain, the gentle sound of water a balm to my restless spirit. Lyriel approached from behind, her presence a comforting flame. "We've built something that can't be broken," she said softly, fingers brushing my shoulder. I smiled, the fierce edge of my gaze melting into something vulnerable and real. Not just the resort. Us. Our evenings were now spent in whispered conversations beneath olive trees, hands entwined, and hearts laid bare, each moment a thread strengthening the tapestry of our shared life. We celebrated victories both grand and small. The first guests welcomed, a quiet breakfast, a touch lingering longer than necessary. Challenges remained, but together, we them not as rivals, but as queens of fire and storm, fierce, unyielding, and bound by a love forged in the crucible of our battles. The evening wrapped the resort in a velvet cloak, stars scattered like diamonds across the deep navy sky. Lyriel and I found refuge on a secluded terrace, the scent of jasmine and salt carried gently on the breeze. I leaned back into Lyriel's warmth, my fingers tracing lazy patterns along the curve of Lyriel's hand. No words were needed, just the steady rhythm of breath, the gentle pulse of shared heartbeat. Lyriel's voice was a soft murmur against the night. "In the silence, I find you." My eyes met hers, fierce and tender. "And in you, I find my calm." Our lips met slowly, a promise etched in the hush between us, a delicate fire that neither needed to roar to burn fiercely. We spoke in touches, fingers weaving through hair, the brush of skin against skin, the simple gravity of closeness after storms fought and won. The world beyond the terrace faded, leaving only the quiet blaze of our love, steady, enduring, and true. The moon hung low, casting a silvery glow that kissed our skin like a gentle caress. Lyriel and I sat entwined beneath the olive tree, the night air thick with the scent of earth and blooming flowers. My fingers traced the delicate line of Lyriel's jaw, memorizing every curve as if committing a sacred scripture to memory. The quiet hum of cicadas played a lullaby for two souls who'd weathered storms and found refuge in each other. Lyriel's breath hitched softly as my lips brushed the hollow beneath her ear, a whisper of fire and devotion. "Tell me," I murmured, voice husky with emotion, "what do you see when you look at us?" Lyriel's eyes shimmered, reflecting the stars above. A blaze that can't be tamed. Two forces made stronger together. A future written in flame and storm. I smiled, a slow, fierce smile that held both love and promise. "Then let's keep burning, quietly, fiercely, always." We leaned into each other, a soft collision of lips and heartbeats, a vow that whatever the world hurled their way, their embers would never die. The evening air was thick with anticipation, the resort's lanterns casting a golden glow that danced like fireflies around them. I stood behind my bar, the sanctuary where I wove magic into glass and spirit, my eyes never leaving Lyriel's as I prepared what would be the most important drink of my life. With practiced grace, I selected ingredients that told our story. Wild thyme for resilience, black cherries for passion, a hint of smoky vanilla for the storms they'd weathered, and a splash of fire-spiced rum, the fierce heartbeat of our journey. The cocktail shimmered ruby red under the soft light, crowned with a delicate twist of citrus and a single, hand-carved ice cube shaped like a flame. I slid the glass across the bar, my voice steady, but laced with emotion. "For every storm we've faced, and every wildfire yet to come, will you be my partner? In life, in fire, in everything." Lyriel's breath caught as she lifted the glass, our fingers brushing in a spark of electricity. With a slow, radiant smile, she met my gaze. "Always." We toasted, the clink of crystal a delicate bell ringing in a new chapter, a promise sealed in the fire of our hearts. The soft clink of our glasses echoed like a gentle heartbeat in the stillness between them. Lyriel held my gaze, eyes shimmering with tears of joy and the fierce fire of unwavering devotion. For a long moment, neither spoke, words unnecessary, replaced by the language of looks, touches, and the steady rise and fall of breath. I reached out, my fingers brushing a stray lock of hair from Lyriel's face, her touch reverent and tender. "Forever," I whispered, voice thick with emotion. Lyriel smiled, a slow, radiant curve that held 1,000 unspoken promises. "Forever." We leaned into each other, the world around us fading into a blur of light and shadow, warmth and whispered dreams. In that perfect silence, our souls spoke loudest, the fire of our love burning steady and true, a beacon against any storm yet to come. Chapter 10: The Wedding of Fire and Storm. The morning broke soft and golden, the sky painted in hues of rose and amber. The resort, now a living testament to our love and vision, bloomed with wildflowers and olive branches, each petal a blessing, each leaf a promise. Guests gathered on a cliffside terrace overlooking the endless blue of the Aegean Sea, the air alive with the scent of jasmine, sea salt, and anticipation. I stood at the altar, my storm distilled into a vision of strength and grace, my eyes fierce and shining, my hands steady as they awaited the wildfire who would soon be mine forever. Lyriel appeared like a flame made flesh, radiant and wild, her smile blazing brighter than the sun. She moved with the confidence of a queen, every step a heartbeat in the dance of our destiny. Our eyes met, an unspoken vow passing between us, the fire of their love lighting the space between like 1,000 suns. As we exchanged vows, words became poetry, promises etched in flame and thunder. Rings glinted like captured lightning, seals of a bond forged in passion and resilience. The first kiss was a spark that ignited the sky, drawing cheers that echoed across the cliffs and out to the waiting sea. The celebration was a symphony of laughter, music, and dance, flames twirling in the twilight, hearts beating in fierce unison, a night to honor not just our union, but the empire of fire and storm we had built. As twilight deepened, casting a soft glow over the resort, Lyriel and I led our closest friends and family to a sacred garden nestled among ancient olive trees. The air was thick with the scent of earth and blooming lavender, a place where time seemed to hold its breath. At the center stood a stone pedestal, draped in white silk. My hand found Lyriel's, fingers intertwining, a silent vow to honor the past as we stepped forward together. With reverent hands, we pulled away the silk, revealing a beautifully carved stone bearing a name, Kara, surrounded by intricate symbols of fire and storm, vines and wings, a tribute to the woman whose strength and spirit had forged their path. A hush fell over the gathering as Lyriel's voice, steady and filled with emotion, broke the silence. To Kara, a queen who taught us that even in ashes there is power, even in loss there is fire. I stepped forward, placing a single wildflower at the base of the stone. Your legacy lives in every storm we weather, every flame we kindle. Together, we stood, a living testament to love, legacy, and the fierce power of women who blaze trails through history. The night sky stretched vast and endless above the resort, stars glittering like scattered embers caught in a celestial breeze. Lyriel and I stood hand in hand, silhouetted against the flickering glow of countless lanterns that danced like fireflies around us. Our empire thrived, a kingdom of storm and wildfire built on love, resilience, and the unyielding will to rise. Around us, laughter and music wove through the warm air, a symphony of joy and promise. Yet in this moment, all noise fell away, leaving only the quiet pulse of two hearts beating as one. I turned, eyes deep pools of storm and desire, and whispered, "This is just the beginning." Lyriel's smile was a wildfire blazing steady and true, forever and beyond. Together, we stepped forward, into the night, into the future, into a story written not just by fate, but by our fierce and fearless love. And the flame we lit that day, storm and wildfire entwined, would burn eternal. Seasons turned, and the resort thrived, its stones warmed by sun and stories, its halls echoing with laughter and whispered dreams. Lyriel and I ruled not just as queens of fire and storm, but as legends who'd carved our place in history with passion and courage. In the quiet moments between dawn and day, we would walk the olive groves hand in hand, the weight of empire balanced by the softness of love. Our bond, forged in battle and tempered in tenderness, remained our greatest strength. At times, beneath the starlit sky, we would trace our fingers over the stone that bore Kara's name, remembering the woman who'd sparked the wildfire and taught us that from ashes, anything could rise. And as new dreams kindled in our hearts, whispers floated on the breeze, of adventures beyond the horizon, of fires yet to be lit, of storms yet to be weathered. Because for Lyriel and I, the flame was never meant to fade. It was meant to blaze on, forever wild, forever free. Epilogue. Whispers beyond the flame. In the hush between worlds where shadows and light entwine, two souls met, wildfire and storm, fierce by design. From ashes they rose, unbroken, untamed, a dance of flame and thunder, forever unnamed. Their hearts beat a rhythm no tempest could break, a song sung in whispers, in every breath they take. For love is the fire that refuses to fade, the storm that reminds us we're never afraid. So let the winds howl and the skies pour rain. They'll stand, hand in hand, through pleasure and pain. For Arden and Lyriel, their blaze ever bright, are forever the wildfire, the storm and the light. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.